Hello, and welcome to the Liquidity event. We're your hosts, AJ.
And Shane.
How you doing, Shane?
Great. Very good. We're in the middle of our retreat this week during our pre-tax season retreat, which was supposed to be real, IRL, I should say. It's very real, still a retreat. Brooklyn and Five was going to get, how many people were going to come? 16 people?
We're going to have 17 folks come out to Los Angeles and hang out IRL.
Mm-hmm.
Made those plans back in like late September when everyone was vaxxed and boosted and everything seemed great. And then Omicron came along and spoiled those plans. So it's virtual now, which has been fine. High-voiced.
Yeah, it's less collaborative. It's harder to do a virtual retreat. Try to, keep people. A lot of a retreat is just frankly just keeping people, getting them socially together, right? Like it's just hard to build culture remotely. And we were going to do a pre-tax season retreat in an effort to remind everyone that we're on the same team before we head into one of our most contentious times of the year, where there's a lot of work flying around, a lot of deadlines coming up, a lot of interaction between the various departments, ops, tax, outsourced accounting, investment management, financial planning. So kind of hard to do team building remotely. But
right, the original agenda had roller skating, hiking, drinking, eating, like lots of great stuff. And now the agenda is like review the workflows.
Yeah, putting together slide decks on multi-state income taxation. And
although we have managed to have a little bit of fun remotely. We had everyone got a bottle of wine and some candied pecans delivered to their door, which was kind of neat. And then we played a virtual game through this company called Weave, which was pretty fun. Took everyone outside of their comfort zone a little bit. Like did a little trivia. There was some lip syncing by people who I didn't think would have gotten really into it, but they did. That was really fun.
Yeah, some people got carried away in the moment. Some of our most I refuse to have fun employees got swept up by Weave, which is a problematic name for a company.
Wev?
It's kind of a silly name. I don't know, WEVE, but we had a great host.
Yeah, shout out to Beth Jo, I don't remember.
Yeah. Highly recommend to any other entrepreneurs or anyone else that is responsible for organizing a virtual trivia night or any other team building. It was actually sincerely fun. For a very cynical group of Brooklynifiers, it turned out to be a lot of fun. So big rec.
Yeah, I regret letting my competitive freak flag fly a little bit.
Oh yeah, you went a little too hard.
As you know, I'm very competitive. So,
yes.
As those... Anyways, reading anything good this week?
Yeah, well, we talked about listening to memoirs and audiobooks. So I'm listening to this book, Educated by Tara Westover, which is about this. It's an autobiography by this girl I think she's in her mid-40s now, but she grew up in the mountains of Idaho, and her dad was one of those end of the world types, Armageddon types that always thought the days of abomination were coming upon us.
I'm sorry, what was that? I didn't catch that.
The days of abomination.
Thank you.
That's how she does men. The voiceover artist does men. She does them like real grisly. It's really funny. But yeah, so the guy didn't send any of his kids to school. He had like 7 kids and none of them went to school. I think like five of them didn't even have birth certificates. And it's like really resonating right now with all the vaccine hesitancy and like all the types of people that live out in the mountains. He was really inspired by the Weaver accident when the feds killed that family up in Idaho that refused to give up their guns, and he got really intense. And it's about her journey to catch up in education. So she's now a published author, and I think she ends up going to like Ivy League or Cambridge level schools after not going to elementary or middle school, I think, or high school either. But she gets into and they're all Mormons too. So there's some of that fun stuff involved. The dad is an asshole. I can tell you that. He's a piece of shit. I'm going to put that on the... Oh, I forgot I cursed too much on the podcast according to some feedback there.
Some feedback.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Go wash your mouth out with soap, boy.
Yeah. Well,
Sorry, everybody.
What are you reading?
We're just being who we are. I am reading the When We Were Young festival lineup. I was a former emo kid, and I would say current emo kid. So they're getting some of the hit bands from the late 90s, early 2000s back together. Paramore, we got Dashboard Confessional, we got Avril Lavigne. It's in Vegas. I'm going. I think your girlfriend is going because I texted her the lineup and she's like, yeah, obviously I'm going to this. So we won't see you there next October.
I hope not. Yeah. I can't imagine a less exciting experience. Maybe a Trump rally would be the only other. I'd rather go to a Trump rally than the When We Were Young festival.
Hey. All right. What you drinking?
Drinking coffee, man. It's 11:30 a.m. Even I have limits. Yeah. Self-respect.
Word. Update on my end. I have a label maker that you got me. Thank you. It finally came.
Yeah.
And now I've labeled the soundboard, so we should go off without a hitch.
Oh, that was one of the most endearing goofs that you used to make. So much for that.
No more goofs. This is a goof-free area. Speaking of which, let's do an IPO deep dive. What you got for me this week?
We got 2 IPOs this week. We have Turo and the Arena Group. I'm more excited about Turo.
Yeah,
I never worked in wow, whatever. I just don't know anything about digital media. I mean, we've got a lot of BuzzFeed clients. We have a lot of experience, growing up reading Gawker, et cetera. You used to work in digital. You were in the content and the PR space, and you used to get paid for words that weren't one-on-one emails, that got published. Tell me about, I don't know where I'm going with this. You want to talk about the Arena Group?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's a media company that's going public, in 2022. So they are a publishing platform. Their holdings include Sports Illustrated, The Street, and College Spun Media. They've been around for a while. They've been around since 1990. Like many media companies, they've gone through, a ton of M&A, acquired tons of companies. They've kind of streamlined their business into actually offering this platform. So the product is the platform. It's not necessarily the content, the writers, the editors, the publishers, all that jazz. They've got 364 employees, a New York-based company, as many media companies are. Not profitable yet, but we will do a deeper dive into the S1 when we actually have a filing date in the future. This was just filed their S1 last week, so as we get closer to listing, we'll probably have an update there. But you're more excited about Turo. I'm more excited about Turo. Let's talk about Turo. What is Turo? Have you ever used Turo?
I never even heard of Turo till today.
Really?
Which is fun. Yeah, but apparently it is the Airbnb for cars, or it's peer-to-peer sharing, they say. I don't see any sharing. I give you money, that is not sharing for your car. Yeah, so I'm looking at...
the sharing, the charity economy.
Yeah, you go to Turo.com. There is rent. You can rent cars. The prices are very transparent. I've never experienced the actual transaction, but the interface looks fantastic. Very Airbnb-ish. I'm looking at a Lamborghini Huracan.
So here's my experience with Turo
$1,000 a day
in the past. So usually when I go to a new city and I need to rent a car, I'll go on budget or I'll
awful
kayak.
Experience every time.
Disagree.
I hate renting cars from those big companies. They always trying to rip you off.
Budget fast break is where it's at. Anyways, I'll go look at my new city. I'll do if the cost is astronomical, you'll see this little ad that comes up in Kayak for Turo, and I'll click on Turo, and I'll be like, oh wow, I can rent a Mercedes coupe for $63 a day, and then I'll get scared because it's someone else's car, and I get weirdly anxious driving rental cars that I'm gonna total them and have to declare personal bankruptcy. So
you have strange anxiety around rental cars, especially Airbnbs. I literally broke my toe at one of the Airbnbs you rented, and you gave them 5 stars because I was like, you have such strange anxiety. What does that have to do with giving them an honest rating?
Because if they give me a bad rating, then in the future, no one's going to want to host me. And I use Airbnbs.
So you give 5 stars no matter what, every time?
No, if something's...
I broke my toe, AJ. What did you give that person? 5 stars? Because it wasn't your toe. What the how do you get a 4-star rating, AJ? Does the house collapse?
Yeah, if there's something, if the lights don't, or the heating and air conditioning would lower my rating.
You want to tell the story about how you heated the pool up to...
Oh no.
100 degrees. All right,
once in Palm Springs when it was 113 degrees outside, I was trying to turn down the pool and I accidentally heated it to 95 degrees. It was an Olympic-sized bathtub, and
Love that story.
Awesome.
Love that story. And you turn into a lizard. You're taking me to Prom Springs, Palm
Taking you to
Springs.
Prom Springs. That's true.
Yeah.
All right. So Turo, are they profitable? No.
Neither
Right?
of these
Not yet.
companies are profitable.
Yeah.
Turo nor the Arena Group, which specializes in sports, digital sports media. I think Brooklyn Five. Did you notice that we don't? No one was getting the sports questions right at the trivia game.
Just that.
We are bereft of sports analogy and actual sports data folks here at the company. Are we screening out sporty heads when we hire people?
I think so. I bet there are folks. Well,
What sport do you actually watch?
What? Reading? I don't know.
Wow. Okay.
Gilmore Girls? Is that a sport?
Okay.
I enjoy going to live sports. Like, please invite me to a basketball game or hockey game. I will be the first person in line, but I'm not going to watch the game. I don't care. Anyway.
All right.
Not football, though. Don't like football.
Gotcha. Well, the Arena Group does. All right. We are kind of a helicopter in the background. It's very LA. Shall we get into some articles for the week? Are we done with our IPO deep dive?
My last thing I want to say about Turo is that, when we look at IPOs filing, usually, with when they're unprofitable, that's fine. We can look past that and we see typically like explosive growth, more than 50% growth year over year. Turo actually kind of, I don't want to say disappointing, but normal-ish growth. Last year they grew year over year 6%. So I wonder how that will impact their pricing when we eventually see how they start trading in the market, considering that they're probably moving along slowly according to a structured growth plan rather than going gangbusters, just trying to like juice those numbers. So my eye is on Turo.
Yeah, I hear you. I also see here that, but they only grew 6%, but their gross profit grew by 40%. They are not profitable overall, but their lack of profitability has shrank quite a bit. So they're becoming more profitable. So they look to be turning a corner ahead of their IPO, and these will all be facts that are pounded into potential investors as this company looks to raise over the next few months. So,
indeed. Speaking of cars,
we
have a teen cyber prodigy. That's a weird string of adjectives there. A teen in Europe, I believe, who's very good at computers, was performing a regular routine security audit for a French company when he noticed something unusual. That a software program in the company's network exposed all the data about the chief technology officer's Tesla car. So he was like looking around doing a security audit for the executive team, and he was like, oh, this is cool. I can actually access your Tesla. And apparently he found a bug in the software where he could actually open and close the doors remotely and turn up the music and disable security features. He couldn't, however, take over the car's steering, braking, or other operations. But imagine you're like driving along and all of a sudden you hear like Mandy Moore's Crush blasting through your speakers and you'd be like, God damn it, AJ. You hijacked my Tesla again.
I would love that. I would love to rickroll you while you're on the 101.
Yes, that would be a great opportunity for that. I mean, obviously they're gonna close that loophole, I would imagine. Not a lot of great press for Tesla, but as we've seen with Tesla's founder, all press is good press for that fella.
Yeah, everyone wants to dunk on Tesla.
I love dunking. Yeah, it's so fun to dunk on Tesla.
While they continue to be one of the most highly valued companies on earth. Yeah. I mean, all cars are going to be more and more computer into the future, which is just a requirement of our technological advancement. So, of course, there's going to be security loop holes in these cars' computers. So,
driving around in LA, and I'm currently borrowing my dad's car, which is like a nice, newish Volvo SUV. It's very fancy. Makes me rethink everything. Like having a nice car, like I forgot how great that feels. Like smooth, good system, plug in your phone, starts talking to you. Unlike our shitty Subaru.
You like cozy things.
It's true.
I think you just like things that are cozy or relevant to other things. I think the Subaru is fantastic, but now that we have advancements in car design, you just want to be nicer than other people. I think
the Subaru was better than
it's
walking.
It's the Joneses shit, and it's the hedonistic treadmill in action.
Does Subaru have butt warmers?
Yeah, it does.
Really?
Butt warmers? Yeah. It's got seat warmers, yes.
Okay, cool.
Where you put your butt. I don't think that's the technical term for them, but yeah, it's got a low and a high, and my dog likes to turn them on when I'm not paying attention, and I start sweating, and I'm like, what the fuck's going on? Yeah.
Stop swearing. No more swearing.
Disagree.
You have some like game stuff for me, you nerd?
Yeah, well, there's two giant acquisitions going down, two liquidity events for folks that work at Zynga and also for the folks that work at Activision Blizzard. Microsoft purchased Activision Blizzard and Take-Two purchased Zynga. Both of these deals are really, really interesting. I mean, Microsoft for one, they're both giant deals. I think the Take-Two acquisition of Zynga, I know it's for $12 billion with a mixture of cash and stock that was exchanged. It was about 67% stock for Zynga shareholders would be receiving in Take-Two Interactive. And then a third of it was in cash, so they were able to experience some liquidity and then participate in Take-Two's stock, which they could, of course, sell after a certain amount of time. And then Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard for $70 billion. So we had one of the biggest acquisitions in the gaming industry of all time. A week later, followed by like a 6x size acquisition of Microsoft, of Activision Blizzard. Activision Blizzard was one of the biggest in the industry. They, of course, publish, Activision bought Blizzard, which was one of the most beloved studios within the gaming space. I grew up on Blizzard, Diablo, Warcraft, StarCraft, etc. That company has become more and more corporate after Activision bought them. And then Activision went through a series of sexual harassment cases last year, where over I think 20 people, like dozens and dozens of people came forward about the bro culture and the sexual harassment that was happening there. The CEO had to address it. There were a bunch of people were fired. The stock price took a big dip, and now Microsoft has taken advantage of the turmoil of Activision Blizzard and has acquired them, which I don't know how to feel about it. But it is really interesting that all of these PC games that are cult classics will now be a part of the Windows environment, and people can potentially, there's more access and more consolidation we're seeing in the gaming space, which is larger than film and music. People forget that gaming is way bigger as a multimedia than film and music, probably combined. I don't know the actual stats on that. Take-Two makes Grand Theft Auto. They make Borderlands, Civilization, Kerbal Space Program, NBA 2K, BioShock, Red Dead Redemption, bunch of really rad titles there, or franchises that will now be probably. Zynga specializes in mobile gaming, so we'll probably see Grand Theft Auto as an app at some point in the next 2 years, is my prediction.
Wow.
With that acquisition, is that they're pushing into mobile, which is where Zynga thrives. Do you have any thoughts on these? You're not much of a gamer, so I'm curious what your take on it is.
Gamer. My take on it is I'm just more interested in like Microsoft as a company, and like one of the biggest like tech giants, been around forever, has invented and reinvented the wheel many times over. So the fact that they're getting into gaming, and I don't know anything about these games. Honestly, I've never played Call of Duty. That's one that when you all those words that you just said, World of Warcraft and Call of Duty and Grand Theft Auto were the only ones that popped out.
Sure.
But I'm interested to see.
Those are the Marvel movies of games, I guess.
I'm interested to see how like the integration happens. Like, what is Microsoft working on technology, like on hardware? Like, are they going to throw out some new consoles that I've never even heard of? Like, what does this mean for Microsoft is my take on this. Slightly related, but not exactly related. Yesterday, one of our planners, Mark, we hung out in LA, and he threw out an astonishing statistic that blew my mind, that Netflix spent $17 billion on content creation last year alone. But you're saying that video games are even so much bigger than that like these game companies probably spent way more than $17 billion in development of. Oh,
absolutely. The development of gaming has moved to a place where not only can you buy a game for $60, which is way more than you would pay to go see a movie, but also within the games, they have microtransactions wherein, I've experienced this with Pokemon Go, where if you're having a good time, but you want to speed up something or you get impatient with something, it's very easy to spend a little bit more money on access to something. So you don't just pay $60, you could spend hundreds of dollars on a game.
How much real money have you spent in Pokemon Go in the past 12 months?
Probably like $30. Yeah, not that much. I don't like to do it. But I mean, I think what Microsoft is doing here is one, obviously acquiring a lot of much beloved intellectual property. The universes that they've built in Blizzard's Warcraft, StarCraft, and Diablo go back to like the mid 90s, and you're capturing a lot of millennials that now have a lot of discretionary income. They love these universes and they're pushing into the metaverse. I don't think Activision Blizzard really has the ability to build the hardware out that Microsoft has. And can build out in order to participate in the overall metaverse. We have another article here about the competition going on between Facebook and Microsoft and building out these universes that you can actually, live in a 3D world. And if you take the ability to go into World of Warcraft in the metaverse in a 3D world, I mean, this is where the future. And then you not only can you be in that metaverse in 3D, but you will also be purchasing things and literally live your life in a alternative universe. And you can pop out of World of Warcraft, go into Diablo, spend a few $100s, etc. I mean, I think it's surprising that Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard because it's a $70 billion company. But it's not surprising that as we push into the metaverse, intellectual property and universes that have much endeared history with people with discretionary income that will be actually do this. Like boomers aren't going into the metaverse to go into World of Warcraft in general as compared to millennials. So it's interesting. It's cool. I don't, gaming is nerdy, but I think this is actually huge. This is cool.
What is the ideal metaverse for boomers? Is it like suburbia in 1963?
Yeah, maybe.
Like white picket fences?
You just have house phones. There's no cell phones. I don't know.
No dang internet.
I don't know. There will be a lot of nostalgia in the metaverse, of course, as well. You'll be able to walk around. I mean, the whole simulation theory is that, which we've been having a lot of fun with the Matrix coming back out. Matrix 4 is all about simulation theory. I don't know if we talked about this on a prior podcast, but I'm sure there will be metaverses where technology after 1995 doesn't exist. So it's going to be funny. And then the theory is that we are currently living in a metaverse from the long history. We're actually in the year 4000 or whatever, and people want to experience the year 2000 where things started,
actually,
before
in the Jewish calendar, we're already in the 5000s.
Nice. So there you are.
Way ahead of you. Way ahead of you over here.
Jews have always been way ahead of us. All right, let's get out of gaming now. Let's move on to another story. What else do we have?
Well, it's sort of related, just to close that loop a little bit, while we're talking about Microsoft and the metaverse and virtual reality. So Microsoft's augmented reality headset, HoloLens, there's been a mass exodus, speaking of Jews.
Which is apparently how you'll enter the World of Warcraft metaverse.
So basically, we have a ton of highly skilled engineers, developers, product managers who worked at Microsoft, worked on this HoloLens product, and are now getting hired by Meta.
I have to add in one more.
Facebook.
Sorry to circle back to that, but not only do you spend $60 for the game, but you pay for a subscription and you could have in-app purchases as well. So you would pay $50 a month for access to this universe that is constantly updated and managed by these companies as well. So
it's like Peloton.
Yes, it is a rundle. It's like a recurring revenue model, and it's not just a one-time purchase. So you could build giant, revenue streams off of these as well. I'm sorry, go on with you.
No, that's all. That's all. Just that we're having
this is a Wall Street Journal article about defections from Microsoft to Facebook. I think the reasoning is that Microsoft wanted to push people back into the office, and Facebook gave them the authority to not.
Do whatever you want.
Right.
Well, Facebook's letting them just live in the metaverse. They don't have to actually enter reality at all.
Yeah, I can't wait to code in the metaverse. I mean, maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
Cool. Is anything light and fun this week? I feel like everything's pretty like...
What do you mean? That was a gaming session. That's light and fun.
I was bored.
Oh, okay. Sorry, bro. I don't know if you knew this, but a lot of gamers out there.
I know. Yeah. Some gamers.
Why don't you go read a book about it? All right. I think how we doing on time? I think that we should dive into the tech startup and the Puerto Rico article, and then we wrap it up.
That sounds great.
Okay.
Yeah, there are very few articles that I read like twice just because they're like packed with so many stats. I read this article twice through. It's a New York Times article. The title is...
What a great article. So much fun.
It's all just wild. Tech startups reach a new peak of froth. There's more money and more bubbly behavior. Investors insist it's rational. What were your big takeaways from this article?
As somebody that tried to raise money for a startup, this article is really frustrating. because it talks about how VCs are now pitching money to startups as opposed to the other way around. They call it the reverse pitch. There are now 900 startups in Silicon Valley that are worth more than $1 billion. That's insane to me.
They need to raise the unicorn bar. Like a unicorn is $1 billion. If there's 900 unicorns running around,
we got a big pack of unicorns. Yeah, we got enough unicorns to fill a high school.
Yeah, we got to move on to like narwhals or
decacorns
or something.
I like decacorns. That's kind of funny.
Decacorns good.
What? Oh, decacorns is good? Okay, we got the thumbs up from AJ on that one. All right.
No eye rolls over here.
Okay, cool.
Proceed.
My other takeaway, I mean, there's just so much money flowing into these companies that have such unknown revenue go-to-market or monetization strategies. We use Miro, which is one of the companies on here that's worth $17 billion. So, I mean, I love it. I use it today during an all-company presentation. I don't know how they're going to make money off of it. I don't even know what we spend on it, which means we don't spend that much money on it. And we used it for 25. I mean, it is a B2B company. They're worth $17 billion as a whiteboard. I mean, it's got a lot of really cool features.
Right. So what is those numbers are based on the fact that every single remote company or anyone who ever needs to display anything is going to use Miro and pay a bunch of money for it. What's the most amount of money that you think Brooklyn FI would pay for Miro in the future?
A digital whiteboard? I mean, a few $100s a month.
Really?
Yeah, maybe a few $100s a month. And then, like, how hard is it to create an alternative? Like, what is the barrier to entry in digital whiteboarding? Like, I don't know how the code works necessarily, but it doesn't seem...
seems like it's very easily copyable. Maybe not. Maybe we're totally
not putting
wrong.
satellites into space here.
But the way that you drag the little arrows to go between the boxes
is a beautiful user interface that is very easily ripped off, it feels like.
Yeah. I agree.
Shout out to any Miro listeners. Congratulations on your new equity evaluation. And shout out to anyone listening to this that is part of these 900 unicorns. I mean, hopefully you guys, this wave of valuations continues and VC money continues to pour. And my other takeaway from this was that where does all the VC money come from? Like, Andreessen Horowitz is raising billions of dollars from accredited investors, of course, to dump money into these accounts. I guess these accredited investors are not enjoying the returns from the S&P 500, which is already enjoying fabulous returns. So,
not good enough. I mean, it's a snake eating itself, right? You make $500 million from your startup. You're not satisfied with the S&P 500. You're putting that money back in. Where are you going to go? Well, I had a great exit from my startup. I want to try to replicate that. Maybe there's a little bit of goodwill. I want to try to give somebody else a chance to have that exit. So that money's, flowing out of these companies as they go public, as they have spectacular IPOs, and it's going right back in to the next, generation of companies that are trying to list.
This is peak capitalism here, baby. This is peak late stage capitalism. A whiteboard is worth $17 billion. That is
People
more
do love
than
whiteboards.
the GDP of many nations.
Yeah, I mean, this article is like filled with so many anecdotes. My favorite anecdote was there's one founder who was being courted by investors. And usually founders go court investors. And it's this very stressful process where you have to have your perfect pitch. You got to go into these meetings, sell yourself. And now the tables have turned. So now these investors are so desperate to bet on these companies that this one company sent this founder a Cameo, the app where you can hire celebrities to record messages for you, from this guy's like favorite sports star.
What's Cameo worth? That's what I'm here for.
Billions. Are they public?
I hope so. Cameo is the coolest fucking app, which definitely has a moat or a barrier to entry. Sorry, go ahead. I don't want to derail that with a big F-bomb.
It's all good. I feel like I love this article so much. I feel like this is a great note to end on.
Great. I agree. You gotta we'll push our Bitcoin
next
Puerto
week,
Rican millionaires.
Next week at the Liquidity event. Billionaires in Puerto Rico not paying taxes. Thanks so much for listening. This is Shane and AJ broadcasting live from sunny Los Angeles, California. The week after, we will be in Palm Springs. You guys are fabulous. Thanks for your continued support. You can find us at brooklynfi.com/episode 26. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.